Welcome, friends and foes, survivors and killers. Let's sit around the campfire together and talk about Dead by Daylight, specifically the Twins rework. Or can we really call it a rework anymore? So, the mid-chapter update is on the horizon and we finally know what the devs have in mind for the Twins. I was waiting for it all to drop with the same anticipation of the sword of Damocles over my head. The fact that the update was a day late was terrifying, but we finally got news on what they're doing to Twins. And when I read the changes, I responded in my typical subdued and professional manner.
Get in!
Not everybody might have read what's actually coming in the mid-chapter for Twins, so let me read the update together with you. Trust me, it'd be my pleasure. We've received a lot of comments about the Twins' strengths during the PTB. We've made the decision to revert the changes to Victor's pounce and keep the various quality of life improvements. Faster switching between Charlotte and Victor, ability to recall Victor, and add-on adjustments and base kit inclusion. We may revisit the Twins in a future update if necessary, but these smaller tweaks will make the Twins feel better to play for the time being. So, you know what this means, right? The abomination that was PTB Twins is dead as a doornail. Victor can't take both health states anymore. Healthy latching is back, and Victor isn't forced to latch onto down survivors anymore, meaning Twins will play in the mid-chapter broadly the same way they did before. But what they're getting is a load of quality of life changes that will make them feel smoother. Victor unbinding faster, toy sword base kit, the faster wake-up time for Charlotte, and longer regrowth time to Victor is caked by a survivor. This stuff is all making it to current Twins, and let me tell you this is exactly what we, the Twins player base, wanted for our killer. Let's start off with something important. This update's language is pretty sparse, so we don't know 100% of the details of all of this properly. The big question about the way this is written is that it's not explicitly confirmed if Victor is kickable after downing a survivor, given that he's immune to it after a hit on the PTB, and they didn't explicitly say that bit was being reverted, but they also didn't list it in the things they were keeping. If Victor is kickable after a down, then that's great, although it would be nice to have the hit cooldown taken back to 3 seconds like it was when they came out, and on the PTB. But if Victor's immune, then we have a major problem on our hands, because Twins just lost some of their most important counterplay. I don't think behaviour are that stupid that they've just forgotten to give Victor counterplay, but it wouldn't be the first time. So while I do think Victor will be kickable after the mid-chapter update, if he's not, then we have a whole new problem. But I'm just going to assume that Victor's hit recovery is broadly the same as it is on live Twins. Because with that assumption, and knowing what's been reverted out of the changes, this is what we're left with for the Twins update. The only parts that I'm not sure on is whether Victor will still get Killer Instinct when he's latched onto somebody, which I personally really hope he does, whether Victor will have his 5-second recovery time he has on live, or the 3-second recovery he had on the PTB, which I'm really hoping he has a shorter version from the PTB, or if Charlotte still gets the 10% haste boost when Victor is holding a locker door shut, which is something I wouldn't mind seeing, but also wouldn't mind if they scrapped. So what does all this mean for Twins? First of all, they're going to feel much smoother to play, and if nothing else, that will improve the experience of playing them. Twins were defined by being far clunkier than they had any right to be, and it rightfully put off a lot of players. But the days of waking up with Charlotte feeling like trying to pass a kidney stone the size of North Wales are well and truly over. It's a pretty significant barrier to enjoying the killer demolished, and it's all I ever really wanted for them. Shame it took as long as it did though, but it's here now and that's all that matters. Survivor's also got some stuff too that makes Twins' worst excesses feel a little bit fairer. Kicking Victor after a pounce becomes more rewarding by making his respawn take longer, and showing his streaks in the visual terror radius indicator and giving clear visual windows when he is or is not vulnerable to a kick will make playing against Twins feel a bit better and a little bit clearer in terms of what you should do and when you should do it. In this update, I think it's fair to say everyone's winning a bit. The gameplay and counterplay to Twins will stay fundamentally the same. Twins are all about spreading pressure, occupying multiple players at once, and eventually grinding the team down through strategic slugging and wasting their time with endless resets. And survivors will beat them by working together, resetting efficiently, kicking Victor after he gets a down so he can't snowball, and using latching and locker plays at the right time to deny Charlotte access to her power when she needs it the most. Don't get me wrong, I do still have a couple of concerns about post-mid-chapter Twins. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Those issues can be summed up in 2 words: bugs and add-ons. First of all, I was amazed in the PTB to find that Twins' notoriously buggy power seemed to have 0 bug fixes in the rework. In fact, it increased the number of bugs the killer had because of how janky Victor's new hit system was. This will undoubtedly continue into their live release. Victor still gets stuck in the floor sometimes or dies on random bits of floor. He'll slide off or phase through survivors when pouncing on them, and pounce still doesn't work properly on stairs. At the very least now, Victor can be recalled from anywhere on the map, meaning that if he gets stuck in the floor or behind something, Charlotte can now pull him back to her. But the killer broadly still isn't going to work properly. I wish some of the 2 years spent on the rework were spent fixing some of those bugs because they're really bad and desperately need to be fixed. But perhaps more concerning to me is the state of Twins add-ons, because Twins were a killer who already had poor add-on diversity, and the new update may have made that even worse. On pre-update Twins, they have about 5.5 good add-ons. Toy Sword, Tiny Fingernail, Green and Purple Speed, Silencing Cloth, and lots of items, Spinning Top. But with the update, Toy Sword and Half a Fingernail have become base kit, and the add-on's effectiveness have been tuned down as a result. But that hasn't made any of Twins' other add-ons any more useful. The Twins have gone from having 5.5 useful add-ons to having 3.5 useful add-ons, and that's assuming that Silencing Cloth gets reverted since its PTB effect won't work properly on live iterations of Twins. Come to think of it, we don't actually know what's going to happen with a few Twins add-ons that relied on the power change. Both Ultra Rare add-ons and Sewer Sludge only made sense as add-ons on the PTB version of Twins, so they're just going to keep their current effects? Because if so, that's quite the mixed bag. Silencing Cloth is way better on live than it ever was in the PTB, so I'm glad that they're keeping that. And Iridescent Pendant was necessary for the Fishing Twins build, so I hope they're keeping that too. But Sewer Sludge is practically detrimental, and that keys into Twins' real add-on issue now. Twins have add-on diversity on the level of Freddy and Pyramid Head nowadays, because even assuming Cloth stays the way it is on live, Twins will only have 3 or 4 useful add-ons. Victor's movement speed add-ons, Silencing Cloth, and sometimes Spinning Top. Which means that unless you fancy cracking out the Ultra Rares or using one of the 15 plus Twins add-ons that don't do anything, every Twins player will be running double speed every single game. Before, there was a reason you didn't see it, because of Toy Sword and Tiny Fingernail making Twins feel really good to play, so people often prioritise those. But now they're base kit, there's no reason not just to run double speed every game. And let me tell you this, double speed Twins was already pretty damn obnoxious, it was likely their best add-on combo. And now every Twins game is going to be double speed Twins, except with Toy Sword and Fingernail base kit. Effectively, they're playing with 4 add-ons now. I know Behaviour has said that Twins might get more looking into in the future, and I do hope they get it, but not to their base kit. It doesn't seem like they need it for now. Other than bug fixes, the big things Twins need now is a proper, top-to-bottom add-on pass. And I'm a little bit surprised that Rework on the PTB did so little to shake their add-ons up. Let's start with the obvious. Double speed has got to go. The way I would do this would be to give them a single speed add-on, probably green speed, base kit, and then remove both the speed add-ons completely. Because Victor at 150% isn't quite fast enough, but anything faster than Madeline's Scarf is a little bit excessive. As long as speed is an option for Twins, they'll always take it, so the best thing to do is do what they did to Nurse's Range. Normalise it at a fixed value and don't make add-ons that change it. And then beyond that, Twins have a ton of add-ons that could do with changing because they have so many bad ones. Stale Biscuit, Cat Figurine, Spoiled Milk, Sewer Sludge, literally all of their yellow add-ons. Bloody Black Hood might be a little bit better now that your fatigue is shorter, so you'll notice it more often, but it'll also be less necessary than it used to be because of the base kit changes. Some add-ons that aren't terrible already, like Weighty Rattle and Rusted Needle, are being kept out of build just because of how good speed is, but some more add-on diversity would be great in the event that double speed gets taken out back like it should. But before I wrap up, I want to make something completely clear. If you expected something big and transformative from the Twins rework and disappointed that you didn't get it, on one hand, I understand. Behaviour didn't quite end up giving us what they advertised even after such a long time. But I cannot stress this enough. Twins never needed a top-down major rework in the first place, and Twins players like Lynxie and myself have been saying this for years. It may have taken way too long, but this cluster bombing of base kit polish and quality of life changes is quite literally the best case scenario for those of us who love Twins the way they were, and had the most to lose from this rework as a result. So if you're not interested in this mid-chapter iteration of Twins, then there's not much I can really say to you other than tough luck. Not every release can be for everyone all the time, and now you know how I've been feeling with more or less every new killer they put out these days. That being said, I'd recommend any doubters maybe try out new Twins first before writing off this whole mid-chapter. I suspect some of you might be happy that you did. So, how am I going to wrap this up? The Twins are always going to be a hard kill to significantly change. I've warned this since the rework was first announced over 2 years ago, and I think the past few weeks have proven that. If you wanted Twins to be fundamentally different, to be reborn from the ashes like strange French phoenixes, then I see why you're probably disappointed, especially because it took so long and because there isn't much else in this mid-chapter. But if you wanted Twins to be better, like I did, to be smoother to play and play against while still being Twins to their core, today is a very good day. For the first time in the killer's history, Behaviour has made a good Twins change, and I couldn't be happier. I know some folks will be raring to ask me, Pixel, are you going to go back to your Twins era now they've gotten all these good changes? Are you done with Skull Merchant now? In short, no. But not because Twins aren't appealing to me anymore. They still are, they're still my number 2 killer, and now they're better than ever, so I will be playing them more again. But I've been playing them consistently for so long now that it's nice to have something new to mess around with, and right now, that's Skull Merchant. Her rework's been the only piece of new content in the past couple of years that I didn't get bored with after a week, and if you want to know why, I have a very long guide for you to watch. So yeah, the Twins rework is everything I wanted it to be. And while the mid-chapter is for a lot of players a little dry, what with a large chunk of stuff on it being reverted, the Twins players are said to be happy with the changes we wanted for years finally coming to the killer. I suspect that loyal and dedicated community of Twins players who've been sticking with them over the years are going to receive some new blood soon. Maybe not a lot, but some. And all it took was 2 years.